just three simple shifts that you can make today. And they're not always easy, but I'll give you at least the foundation, at least a framework, a proven framework that works, right? To just move your business and transition your business online. And again, it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but just we also know the power of moving our business online and how that can affect our capabilities to reach more people. So that's it today. And so my name is Jamie Hernandez, founder of Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Method. So if you don't know me, I help you guys, spiritual entrepreneurs, bridge the gap between your spiritual life and your business. And this thing is bothering me. So I can fix it, put it up here maybe. Okay, it's my mic. Okay. And so that's what we help you do. So I'm the founder of Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Method. And I help you bridge the gap between your spiritual business and, actual business strategies that bring in cash flow. So what I want you guys to do now is just come in, come in, not just with your head, not just, half present, but come in with your body. Whatever you're doing now, allow yourself just to get grounded, feel the floor, right? Take a breath in. And just begin to slow down your nervous system, because whenever you do that, you're able to receive what it is you need today, Maybe it's not the whole thing, maybe it is a framework, but sometimes, often in these trainings, there's always something that you're able to receive, and not just receive in a being type state, but also in a doing. So that's what I like to give you guys. I want to give you something that you can practice in your practice of spirituality, or whatever you want to call it. And I also want to give you actual practical strategies that work. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today, and I'm going to give it to you like a training. So come in, take notes so that you can leverage my time and you can really utilize your valuable time. It's like, as an entrepreneur, we always want to learn, how do we leverage our time? How do we leverage our energy? How do we, receive in a way that doesn't drain us, or, we don't go too fast. We go in a place where it's like, what is universe trying to tell me right now? Because I also believe that you're here and I'm here, and life is here, universe is here, and we also get channeled, right? Whatever needs to come through me will come through me. So there's that place of trust. All right. So if you have your note-taking device or your pencil, pen, whatever it is, take it out now, because I want you to answer the first question. Okay. So the first question is, and so here's where the practicality of things are, okay? Just let's get down to business. Sometimes we have to do that, okay? And then we'll integrate the spirituality in this. But what is your income goal per month? So write it down. What's your income goal per month? Okay? Whatever comes to your mind. So this is the interesting thing. I just want to add this, because whatever the highest income you've ever made, if that is what you wrote down, like let's say whatever, the most you've ever made in your life is $10,000, $25,000, $3,000, $1,000, I don't know what, just look and check if that's what you wrote down, okay? Because subconsciously, we sort of have a cap of what it is we believe and what we think we can receive, right? In cash, in anything, okay? So just watch that, and I want you just to see if you wrote that number that you've already gained, yeah? You've already gained that in your income goal, and just see what happens if you double it, okay? So write that down, do the math, okay? 2 times, times tables, okay? Now, just for fun, because we want to, whenever we're expanding, we always want to expand a little bit outside of our comfort zone, okay? So whatever income goal that you wrote down the first time, triple it, Okay, so we're talking about what is your income goal. Very often, most of us write the last thing that we made at our highest. So if it was 10,000, if it was 1,000, it was whatever it is, we're gonna write that down subconsciously. So I want you just to watch and see how your subconscious works. And now give yourself room to grow. Double it. So just do the math. That's all we're doing, guys. We're not, we're just doing math, okay? Now triple it, all right? Okay? And just write that number down. That's all we're doing. We're writing it down and allow yourself to, first of all, see what happens when you write it down, because very often when we write things that are outside of our comfort zone, we're like, oh my God, and right away we go into this drama and we're like, oh, that's not possible, right? Just write it down and just, it's a number, and be willing to receive the number, right? And you already know that I'm sure if you've been in your business for 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, your number has increased. So it's the same concept, okay? So if you're brave enough, write that number down in the comments, all right? Okay, so keep that number and write it down. Now, I want to start to get into the 3 simple shifts that yogis can make when they're moving their business online, whether you're already online, whether you're taking a DIY program to try to help you market yourself online, whether you're following somebody and trying to model after them. Let's start with number 1. Okay, so most of us, okay, and if you're here for the replay, #replay, because I want to see you guys, I want to hear you guys, I want to hear the answers to your questions so I can move you along the coaching journey and we can do this together, right? So that's the whole purpose of this, is so that I can give you my expertise and you guys can implement. So it's not just gonna be just more information. We don't want more information, we want actual practical strategy, all right? So number 1, the first shift. Most yogis, most coaches, right? What do you charge per hour? Again, if you want to write that down, write it down. What do you charge per hour? What do you think you should charge per hour, right? And most of us are like, okay, 75, 100, I don't know. Like you have a set number, right? Because it's the going rate. It's what everyone does. And we're sort of been, conditioned to think, well, that's what it is, yeah? So one of the simple shifts that are not necessarily as easy in the mind, but one of the simple shifts is to shift out of the dollar per hour model, so getting paid per hour, into a premium model. Now, if that's the first time you're hearing this, charging premium is charging 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, 25,000, whatever it is, for the service, for the package, for the program that you offer, for the expertise that you offer, okay? That's the business model. Now again, as you receive, if this is new to you, you're gonna be like, whoa, what? Just please observe that in your nervous system. Observe how your nervous system absorbs new information and absorbs information that is uncomfortable to you or that is new, because the nervous system is here to adapt, and the first thing it's going to do is look for danger. So if something is not familiar, it's going to feel like danger, okay? So that's an important thing to really understand as an entrepreneur, allowing yourself to really see how the body works so that you can make decisions not just based on your survival, but you can also make decisions based on your soul, okay? So shift number 1 is shifting out of dollar per hour into premium. So if you were to work with me, one of our clients, for example, one of the first things we did is, first of all, she was doing all kinds of things. She was doing social work, she was doing programs, she was, helping people one-on-one, and her energy was so fragmented, right? And she was doing the dollar per hour thing. And a lot of times, a lot of yogis and coaches and wellness business owners, they don't necessarily even have a clear income goal. And that's why I asked you at the beginning, what's your income goal? Because if you don't know what it is, it never really manifests. It's kind of like if you don't really know which store you want to go to or which country you want to go to, you're not really going to get there, right? So you need a concrete number, right? A specific number, right? So that you know in which direction, right? So what happens often is we do the dollar per hour and we see the money coming in, and then basically we think emotionally, okay, so if I just get more clients and I work harder and I hustle, then I'm gonna make more money. And there's never really like this cap, because we don't necessarily know where we're going, and at the same time there's also not an attention to our energy that's going into all of this dollar per hour, this dollar per hour model. So what happens is it leads to burnout, because we're trying to follow this model, this dollar per hour model. We're hustling. We're like, okay, I got 5 clients. Okay, now I'm gonna get 10 clients. Okay, now I'm gonna get 20 clients. And like you might be making your income goal, but at the expense of, oftentimes your health, oftentimes your energy while you're like actually servicing your clients, oftentimes at the detriment of, maybe even your relationships with your family, because at the end of, let's face it, guys, okay, we've all been there, and we might even be there now. Servicing 20 clients, a week might be some, pretty decent, cash flow, but that is a lot of energy, right? And it's not necessarily sustainable. Ask me how I know, right? It's like I've done that before. I've done my years. I put in the time, and that's why I'm offering you guys this sort of other model which allows you. So let's do the math, right? So like, let's say, for example, you get the 20 clients and you're at $100. That's what, $2,000, a week. And then, is that right? I'm not good at math. 220 times 10, yeah, right? And then that's 2,000, that's let's say 2,000 a week, and then 8,000 a month, which is pretty decent. You're like, oh, that's pretty good. But then just how sustainable is it? Okay? And what I teach you guys, and what I've done with one of my clients, so she was teaching, she's teaching all of these different like clients, like 12 to 20 clients a week. And we started to shift her into really kind of paring down, first of all, what her zone of genius is. And then she started to look at like, yeah, I am reaching my income goal. And yeah, but it's like, by the end of the week, I'm burnt, right? And so imagine now, and just so we can do the math, just so that again, we can get practical here. Most of my clients, they often start their packages at like 3K, 300,000, not 300,000. Well, that would be good, right? $3,000 to $4,000. Okay. So I've had clients before in this program where it's like, Jennifer, she has made 4K in her first, what do you call it? For one of the first paintings she sold. Another one of my clients, Nancy, she just recently landed her first high ticket client, where she decided to start at 3,500, I believe. Anyway, or something like that. So I'm not exactly sure. So anyway, what happened was, I want you to start to do the math. Imagine 2 clients, right, at 4K. What does that equal? So 4,000 times 2, right? $8,000. Okay, so I just want you to start to sink in that simplicity, in that possibility for you, right? Just so that you can see your energy, and imagine your energy now, and imagine the energy of your clients who won. You're not just doing the dollar per hour, and and the thing with the dollar per hour is you just kind of show up and you kind of take care of the problem at hand. Where when you move your client through an actual process, is which what I teach you how to distill your process. You actually have where they are, right? The stuck place they are, and move them into a place where they want to be, right? So they're not paying you per hour, they're paying you for the outcome. They're paying you for the life transformation, right? So imagine it's like, I had a client who, for example, literally could barely get out of bed, debilitating anxiety, and he tried everything. He tried, therapy, he changed his diet, he talked to a nurse, he did different things, medication, all these different things. And like literally still could barely get out of bed. His kids helped him, and it was really, you know, and it was really sweet, but it took a toll on him, his own health, his relationship with his kids, his relationship with his wife, because obviously she was helping out, you know. And then he started working with us, and within 4 weeks, he literally said that he felt like a new person. Yeah. So I just want you to start to transfer this into your life experience and imagine, because you guys are always, let me know in the comments what your expertise are. You guys always are creating like transformations for your clients, are you not? Right? If you're in yoga, if you're in coaching, if you're in the wellness business, you're constantly doing it, and that's why people are coming back, right? But if you have something distilled, and which is point number 2, right? The simple shift that you can create in your business today is start to distill your expertise, okay? Because what we tend to do is we tend to base it on all our certifications. Like I'm an NLP coach, I'm a yoga teacher, I do meditation, I have Reiki, I do special energy work. And you kind of like, you put all of that under your credentials, right? And you position yourself that way. But what happens is people are like, okay, that's great, she has a lot of experience, but they actually don't really realize, what is my outcome, right? What's my outcome from, you know, where they are, you know? So it's like, for example, with Nancy, it's like she has clients who are, you know, have ADHD, and you know, they often find it's very debilitating, and it, you know, it starts to, you know, affect their work life, it starts to affect their, you know, life with their family, it starts to affect, you know, their day-to-day. And she starts to teach people how to take that into their, what she calls kryptonite, into their superpower. Okay, so I just want you to start to imagine that. Imagine you have this, you know, life-altering, you know, problem that you want to solve. And instead of kind of doing this piecemeal, okay, let's like meet, you know, and let's do $1 per hour, and let's just kind of meet whenever we sort of are convenient for you, you're constantly sort of giving them here and there, versus bringing them along this journey, this very specific journey where you have distilled and you understand, what do we do in week 1? What do we need? Because as you start to realize, when you start to distill your experience, okay? And the way I teach you guys how to do that is you synergize all of your certifications. You look at the struggle that you've brought yourself through, and there's sometimes different iterations of that. And then you distill it, and you distill your processes, and you distill your tools into a program. And then you start to specifically figure out, okay, if I were to bring somebody from here to here, what's the very first thing they need to do? And the very first thing we do in our program is we help you distill your core wounds, okay? So that's another thing that I'm going to talk about in shift 3, but it's like we help you distill your core wounds, because very often we don't necessarily make that relationship between our core wounds and our childhood traumas to why like it's so hard for us to actually speak in front of people. Why is it so hard for us to, you know, market ourselves? And very often we don't make that link between, you know, that feeling of shame or rejection or, you know, unworthiness or you know, imposter syndrome to something that actually happened to you, you know, in childhood, right? So that's the very first thing we do. Because I can give you all the business strategies in the world, but if we don't look at the core, what's underneath, what continues to be your lens through the world, through your body, through your energy, then it's going to be very difficult for you to move forward in a way that brings clarity, brings you fully into your truth. Okay, so I help you guys figure out what's the very first thing, what's the very second thing, what's the third thing, what is it, and you guys all have it, and all I do is I just help you distill that down. So then imagine now you take your client through this program, right? And you sell it at a premium rate. What's going to happen is both of you guys are going to be fully invested. When you invest in a premium program, right? Your client is at that place where they're ready. They've tried everything and they're like, okay, Here it is. I'm giving you an investment, not just in my money, but in my time, in my belief, in my trust in myself. I'm finally going to invest in you as the expert, because I can see that your expertise can bring me through to where I am now and to where you want to be, because you're always a version of your client. Right? So they're going to see you as you come up and as you present yourself. And that's another methodology that I teach you guys, is how to present, your truth, how to present your expertise, how to present your offering in a way that is really just speaking about you and speaking about your own personal truth and your processes, right? So let me know if any of this is landing for you. I see people are here, but I don't know exactly who is here. So if you're here, say hello, because I want to hear your answers and see who I'm speaking to. So then I can also direct it, to whoever is here. Okay. So just imagine that. Imagine now what happens when you fully invest financially, when you fully invest energetically, when you fully invest emotionally. What happens? Oh, hey, Jamie, what's up? Okay, say hello. Okay, and so if you have your income goal, write it down. I did that at the beginning, right? And then you double it, you triple it. Okay, so just, this, Jamie is somebody who practices vision boarding. So write down your expertise, Jamie, because people probably will be interested in what you do, especially in this community. Okay, so I know a lot of people are coming for the replay. So those who are coming for the replay, #replay. All right. So what happens is when you start to have that commitment, okay, it's very different from the dollar per hour commitment to a full investment, to the actual process, to the actual outcome, to the actual journey. And this understanding, like, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be taken on this journey, and then I'm going to be given tools to move me towards where I want to go. Okay, it's a very different process. And just like our client who in 4 weeks, literally, I gave him the exact tools of how to deal with his panic attacks, how to deal with his anxiety. In 4 weeks, he literally was able to, get out of bed. And if you want to think about that, right? You start to ask yourself, because this is the other thing. Okay, this is going to be number 3. You're gonna be like, well, who the heck is gonna pay me? Like, who the heck is gonna pay me, right? That much money. Like it's a little bit of a mind like blow. You're kind of like, oh, I don't get it, because we're so conditioned, right? At the simple shift number 1, we're so conditioned, the dollar per hour rate, that it's like this premium rate. It just blows our mind, especially if we put ourselves in the category of like yogis, coaches, starving artists, and we don't see it. We don't see it being modeled. We don't realize that, what makes a difference between me earning money and somebody else, right? So it's a complete paradigm shift. And that's one thing that happens if you were to work with me. I bring you through that. And again, it's not that complex, right? But when we start to look at your core wounds and start to see, oh my God, that is why I continually, I have that sort of place where it's like, I'm not worthy, right? So it's like I have a client where literally, in her past, when she would speak up, it would be this place where there would be these, outside voices, right, in her family that would, continually tell her, like, that what she's saying is not necessarily valid. So sometimes we have these subconscious voices that were in our past, but we don't necessarily realize that they're the subconscious, because the subconscious always likes to keep us safe, that are speaking even till this day. So we look at those and we start to clear those, right? And then from that process, because the thing is, you guys have your own processes as where you were before. Like, I think about it, where you were 5 years ago, where you were 10 years ago. Okay, let me know if this is true. Think about that. Think about the leaps and bounds that you have come to until this point. Just think about that right now, right? and you've developed processes, and that's what I start to draw out of you. So this is where that kind of like, relying on your credentials doesn't really work, because I can be an NLP coach, I can be a yoga certified coach, but your experience and my experience are completely different. Why? Because we literally have a unique life experience, and we all have our core wounds that we've brought ourselves through. And how we brought ourselves through that's the uniqueness. And then I start to show you guys how to start to take those tools, because they're tools, the processes that you've brought yourself through. You might not even have realized are actual tools, your toolkit, your assets that you can now share with your clients. You see? So the distilling process is not this big complex thing. It's really based on what you already have. And that's what I constantly teach you. If you were to work with me, you already have what you need. And all I'm doing is starting to clear out everything in the body, everything in the mind, everything in your energy field. And then we start to clear like, oh, where is my zone of genius? And when you start to expand there, versus what we tend to do is, let me expand on all the areas where I'm incompetent, where I'm not so good, or actually hate, right? And that's why I'm talking about shifting online. I'm not trying to teach you how to do these like, crazy funnel marketing, complex strategies. That's a marketing, that's marketing. But if you want to start to market yourself from that soul place, I teach you how to message in a way that really comes from your unique experience, your unique struggle, and start to speak about the processes and the tools that you've developed, right? So it's all assets that you already own. And all I'm doing is starting to distill all of that and starting to put it in sort of just this framework so that your clients can understand, all right, okay, if I were to work with Jamie, step number 1 is this. And Jamie, I'm sure you have a process. I am like 1000% sure, based on you, I know you guys, you're doing workshops, right? Like vision board workshops. You have a process to like, okay, this person, their vision is cloudy, right? What's the first thing? So you write it down. What's the first thing they need to do? I can't tell you that, right? You know it, right? So that's the process that I bring my clients to. It's like, you guys already know the answers. All I'm doing is bringing that clarity for you. And the only way that happens is, first of all, we have to clear the body. Then we have to clear the mind. And then we have to clear our energetic system, okay? So that's point number 3. It's like, how the heck am I going to actually charge this? Point number 3 is literally shifting that paradigm from scarcity to an abundance mindset. And again, I know we use these words and we're like scarcity and abundance, and it sounds very philosophical and great. But listen, it's like actually moving yourself there, not just understanding it from an intellectual process, are 2 different things. And so if you were to work with me, what happens is that I give you actual support. So I know there's a lot of DIY programs, and that's a whole training that I did last week. So if you want to go watch that breakthrough training, that was last week. There are all these online marketing programs that I'm seeing people where they're taking it and it's helping them figure out how to market themselves online, which is great. It gives them the foundation, it gives them information, it gives them like a, kind of the lexicon. But when they actually start to implement something happens and they're like, okay, I did it. Now what? There's no place where somebody who's experienced, has brought themselves through that journey of marketing themselves, has like, oh, okay, that looks good, right? That's working, right? And expand on what's working and then start to discern what's not working. So that's what's missing in DIY programs. So when you start to work with an actual real life human being, that's what we talked about last week, real life human being, they're able to see where you're at. They meet you where you're at on all of those different levels. So in our program, it's on a physical level, on a mental level, an energetic level, but also on a business level. Where are you on, in your strategy that you need to implement now? Because you can only do one thing at a time, right? And you want to start, for me, mastery is mastering the basics. So let's take, right, what you're already doing. This is the crazy thing that people don't realize. It's like, oh my God, I have to be like this guru, and I have to like do these Facebook ads, and I have to do Instagram babe, and it's like, it's all this guesswork, and it's this very emotional like place when it's like, but wait, what if I actually start speaking from my own truth? What if I actually speak from my soul? Right? Because when you start to clear your spiritual house, clear your body, clear your mind, clear your energy, you become a channel, right? And that channel it's not just you, because sometimes your intellect and your ego is gonna like, oh my God, it's all me and it's so hard, right? But it's like, if we also start to put trust in the way that our soul is kind of like, saying, go there, do that. Right? Ooh, this feels good. Even though nobody else is doing that, I'm going to speak about it like this, right? So you start to speak about it, and you start to market yourself from your own truth. Right? When I said 3 simple shifts, like I literally meant it. It's simple, guys, but it's just sometimes things are so simple that we're like, oh, and we hear it so kind of, it's so, what's the word? We hear it from this philosophical places, like, speak your truth, own your truth. And that's great. But if we only understand that from an intellectual level, and we haven't grounded it literally in our nervous system, in our body, when we can show up and feel like, I'm scared, I'm nervous, but I can still do this, right? My mind is not continually clouded by my past core wounds, and I don't even realize I'm wearing those glasses. Right? And my energy is not all over the place. So one really interesting thing that we did with Nancy is that when she came to me, she's like, I'm confused. I'm confused, dude. I'm confused. And I have doubt. Like, I don't know my niche. I don't understand like my market. I don't understand the business strategy. I don't know which one to implement. So her energy, literally, when we looked at it, was like this, and it is going all over the place, right? So we literally teach you guys how to take all of that energy and center it. And lo and behold, she is now, working with, her premium clients in what is aligned with her. So she teaches people how to move take ADHD as a kryptonite into moving it into their superpower, right? And the other thing I want you guys to understand, sometimes people are like, oh my God, what if I don't do the exact right perfect offering, and it's not too perfection and with the right branding and the colors and the blah blah, all that stuff, right? And we get so caught up in the perfection, we forget that we're actually playing for progression. Because why are we on this journey as a human being? Why are we on, this spiritual path, right? It's so that we can expand and discover ourselves. So using your and this is what I talk about, that bridge, using your actual spiritual journey, right? And bridge it into your business, right? And so we start to see, all of the, her energy going all over the place. We started to clear all that, and then start to literally energetically hone that energy, so that she can just focus on, okay, this is my expertise. And the other thing I want you guys to understand is that it doesn't have to be set in stone, but you're going to realize you always teach an iteration of the same thing. Perfection, not progression, not perfection. So good, love it, right? We have to understand what we're playing for, guys, especially in this practice, because if we're always playing for perfection, if we're playing for some external, like, yeah, I told you guys about, your income goal, that's important. But if we don't have our own internal personal growth goal, right? It's like, I'm playing here because I continue to connect back to my purpose. I continue to gain clarity. I continue to be able to speak to people, online and connect, and they have, this interaction. So it keeps that purpose, it keeps that progression alive in me, and it's exciting, right? So there's a frequency that starts to create that momentum for me that keeps me consistently showing up. Because number one, who am I showing up for? You are your first best client. So I'm showing up on a very self-centered level. Because if you're only doing it for the numbers, if you're only doing it for the money, if you're only doing it for the external validation, your longevity will be cut pretty quick. Okay? But if you understand what you're playing for from a very internal, spiritual, personal perspective, and you continue to expand that, then the money comes. Okay, so Jamie, I think you understand that, right? You understand that frequency. I talk about that a lot. Specificity and frequency, being specific. That's why I asked you guys, what's your income goal at the beginning? And times that by, 2, times that by 3, and just see how it feels, right? And then frequency, hold that in a frequency. And that's actually what Nancy told me on another coaching call. She's like, continuing to move that myself through this frequency that I'm holding, so that now her energy wasn't all over the place. It's actually honed in this very specific direction. And again, your offering will evolve. So as you start to talk about your truth, you have to understand it's always going to be an iteration and an evolution, right? So we don't have to get so caught up on like the exact niche, because what happens, and you guys know this, when you teach your clients, what happens? Clarity. Yeah. You start to teach something, and then they start to ask you a question, and you're like, oh, and then all of a sudden something downloads. Do you guys ever have this happen, where something downloads and you're like, whoa, where did that come from, right? And that comes from that engagement. So engagement creates clarity, so this is why I'm here. It's because just me literally speaking, right? Speaking my truth, owning that authority, owning my expertise, right? Owning my vulnerability, owning my imperfections, right? I'm sure the way I kind of framed all of this, I had this, very specific idea. It didn't come out like this most perfect, but it's like, oh, I do this 100 times. The 100th time I'm gonna get, or who knows, the 10,000th time I get on here, it's like I'm gonna flow through this thing with such ease and with such grace and with such clarity, because I understood the whole way through what I was playing for. I want to continue to connect with my purpose, right? And this is one of these ways, me being here with you guys, it excites me. So I was like, before this live, I was like dancing to Mary J. Blige and all of these different songs, Alicia Keys. And it's like, that put me in this frequency of excitement. That put me in this frequency of curiosity. That put me in this frequency of like, ooh, service, So there's something about continuing to connect to your purpose in a very intentional way, in a very consistent way, but also in a very strategic way, right? So we don't want to just play and then all of a sudden it's like we don't have an actual, we can't take, this frequency, so the being, right, and put it into doing. So that's why I always teach you guys, yes, I'm going to teach you the foundations of how to be, right? So that energy, when you start to implement it, it's from this very expansive, this very clear, this very, whatever it is you're playing for. So write in the comments what it is what frequency are you playing for? And essentially, you utilize that energy, because that's the energy that's going to hold up the implementation. You guys, is this making sense for you guys, right? That's going to hold up the implementation. And that's why I love teaching. So with Nancy, she literally had done 5 lives. Just like, so I've been teaching her a similar strategy what I'm doing. And she's gotten 6 lives and 5 sales calls, right? And the first like 4 or 5, she sort of just kind of like, okay, I'm going to kind of do this and I'm going to abundance. Ooh, Jamie says abundance, right? So how does that feel like? What does abundance feel like? And a very good marker, right, is to, as you are implementing, right, does it feel abundant? And it becomes a circle, right? And because you continue, when you're messaging, you continue to align with your truth, you continue to speak your truth, then that frequency of abundance naturally starts to happen. Do you see how that happens? And it just creates this momentum, right? And then it creates this, you constantly direct your subconscious in the right direction, because naturally, as I've been teaching you guys, your subconscious is going to try to keep you safe. It's going to keep you in that survival mode. So I talk about discerning between survival and soul, right? And so if it's always keeping you in that survival mode, right, then it's going to be like, oh my God, don't do that. That's, that's outside of our comfort zone. That's not familiar. So, right? So if we understand and we can discern that that's very useful, because you don't want, that part of you is like, okay, red means stop and green means go, so you don't get hit by a car, right? But when it comes to your business and expanding into abundance, right? How did that feel, Jamie, when you started to 3x your income goal, right? And so you want to allow that space. Allow yourself to first receive it on an energetic level, and then, I'm speaking, I'm preaching to the choir, preaching to the choir. Is that how you say it? You're preaching to the choir, right? It's like you understand that. So I'm gonna recap the 3 simple shifts. 1, shifting from dollar per hour to premium. It's a mind shift, guys. Okay, so if it's new to you, you're gonna be like, what the F? Like, whoa, oh my God, like, right? And that's just showing you, like, ooh, whenever there's a feeling of discomfort, it's also on a parallel level, there's also a feeling of, it's also expansion. That's what I want you guys to understand, because always being in your comfort zone will sort of keep you doing exactly the same thing. Like if you're always comfortable eating toast, you're gonna keep on eating toast, and you're not gonna try the kale, and you're not gonna try whatever, right? And then your body's not gonna be able to feel, ooh, how does this feel to do that, right? Now, what's this frequency now that I start eating that? I don't know if that's a good analogy, right? Amazing. Yes, the belief that I was worthy, that changed everything. Absolutely, right? Absolutely, right? And then number 2, right? Don't base it on one of the biggest mistakes I see yogis, coaches, wellness, business owners out there, they base their expertise on their credentials. I'm this type of coach, I'm certified as it, and they have like 10 million, things, which is great. I'm not telling you to not do that. I'm number 1 in always going on those soul retreats and finding my soul and, doing all those etheric things and connecting to my archetypes and all that shit, right? But, I don't necessarily position myself with a billion different things. I position myself and I let you guys know, I help your spiritual entrepreneurs bridge that gap between, your spiritual work and your business, right? So that you can heal emotionally and you can also be abundant financially. So I try to bring that doing and being on a very practical level, right? So that doesn't have nothing to do, the foundation, right? And my experience, because I tell you guys, take that experience that you have all and synergize it. So my experience in energy work, my experience in yoga, my experience in years and years of meditation, my experience with all the somatic work that I do, right? I don't list all of those things, but I start to synergize them, right? Because what I see, there's this need out there for spiritual entrepreneurs to understand, like, what's the business strategy that's actually going to get me cash flow, guys? Like, point blank, like, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to run your business and you need to pay your mortgage and you don't want to burn out, you need a way of creating cash flow that aligns with your soul, that allows you to expand your energy, not drain it, not like hustle, right? And then from there, and this is what I teach in our mastery program. So in the main program, this is what I teach you, but in the mastery program, we start to let you be the CEO. So then you start to delete and then automate and delegate, and I teach you guys how to hire a team. So that's a whole other level when you get to that place where it's like, okay, I'm clear, this is my expertise, this is my program. Then you want to start to run your business not from that dollar per hour, not from that hustle mode, not from the let's just, work harder, let's just work like, those 20 clients a week, right, to make this X amount of dollars. You start to learn how to delegate so that when you are actually in your zone of genius, you're like fully present. Because isn't that one of the things we're constantly trying to learn, right? Is to be here, Okay, so I'm going on a tangent. So there's 3, it was, shifting from the dollar per hour to the premium. 2 was distill your program, your expertise from the synergy of what you do to the struggle, the hero's journey that you've brought yourself through, and then create, because a lot of people don't actually write down, their tools. And they don't realize, oh my gosh, those tools are what I'm actually, like, this is my actual service. This is my assets. This is what's the goal and making me money. And so sometimes we don't link that. We just kind of keep on going, and then we keep on adding retreats and keep on adding expertise. And we don't actually realize, oh my God, through all of that, I've created processes. So let me know, Jamie, I am absolutely sure that you, in your vision boarding workshops, you have these tools, these very specific tools. And even if I was a vision boarding expert, we wouldn't be the same, right? So don't position yourself from, your credentials. Position yourself from the life-altering problem that you solve, and allow people to know how you bring themselves through that process. And you are your first best client, so you can speak from your experience, and then you can speak from the experience that you help others do, right? And that builds that authority, because when people are like, oh, okay, she's done it with this person and that person, it helps them see, like, oh, okay, this is for reals, yo. It's not just like this, this theory. There's actual people moving through this proven strategy, okay? People who align with this proven strategy, people who are ready, right? So when I teach you guys how to message in a way that you're speaking to those people who are ready. You're not speaking to like the mass people and everyone out there. You're speaking to very specific people who need this life transformation that you offer. And they're here and they're literally like needing this thing yesterday, and you're bringing them there, right? Okay? Yes, sharing our stories and our truth helps others see their truth. That's exactly what it is, right? When people can hear you and they're like, oh my God, she says that weird word like me. Oh my gosh, she's talking about that. Oh, right. Oh, she went through that thing. That it might not be the same exact thing, but it's like, oh, okay, I get it. They can start to put themselves in and see themselves in you. So exactly right, Jamie. That's, it's storytelling, 101, right? It's just learning how to not tell people what you do. I'm an expert in, business and coaching, and I help people. Like, that's great, telling people, but if you can't tell them from a real life experience, then that's what I love. You can't make up your real life experience. It's just your experience. It's like talking to your girlfriend saying, dude, oh my God, this is what I'm going through, blah, 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 right? And when you've processed it, especially, and you don't have this stuck energy, you've brought yourself. And you're never going to be like at perfection, but you've brought yourself, through a lot, right? There are tools and processes there for your program and for your clients, okay? And then lastly, like, who the F is actually going to, pay me for, at that level? Like, that's where we have to look a little bit underneath. Okay, because I can give you all the strategies. I can give you the simplicity of how to, message yourself, how to sell yourself, how to move yourself through a sales call, how to move somebody through a breakthrough for, like, they call you and they're like, oh my God, I have this, this thing that I think you could help me with, to bring them through that breakthrough, to let them know that, you are the person to work with them, and then offer them, your program at a premium rate, at 5K, at 6K, at 8K. From a place of alignment, right? From a place of ownership, from a place of centeredness, from a place of clarity, right? And that place of certainty, right? And again, it's not for perfection. It's just understanding. I have this thing that has brought me through, my journey. Here, I'm giving it to you, right? And it's not based on how good they think you are, or how, valid your credentials are. Hey, Jen, right? Hey, gonna catch it on the replay. Cool. Okay, yes, please. Okay, I want to hear your biggest takeaways. Okay, so the last point is to really, and this is why this is perfect for you guys. You guys already have this tool of being able to just a level deeper, and you have it with your clients. But as your coach, I'm going to give you what those DIY programs can't give you, real life support. We're actually going to move through and get and understand what is that core wound, because we all have them, and I do this with my coaches all the time. I'm like with my coaches, I'm ugly cry, not understanding why, I'm feeling a certain way, and then again, that real human support gives you that mirror and gives you that experience and gives you that tool, right, to just break you through to the next level, the next thing. And that's what happens when you get real life support, right, is that your coach meets you where you're at and brings you right to the next level, helps you clear. So we don't just kind of tell you, just go do that, because it's just not gonna work, right? We start to see, what is underneath that? Why is it that you feel so, nervous to talk to this person, or sell your package at a higher rate, or double your prices, or, work and speak about this truth now? Why is it that it's so hard for you? And we look at that, because once we do, right, once we look at the boogeyman, once we look at the thing that we almost can't grasp, but it's always there, it's always kind of stopping us, because we're like, we know what we do, we know we need to be online, we need to have this presence, but it's just like, right? And then when we do that, then when we implement the strategies, then it comes from this very clear place, right? Clear in the body, clear in your mind, clear in your energy. And then whoever resonates with that, at the right time, because there's certain people that may not be ready for what you're offering, and there are certain people who are, and I teach you guys how to discern who to work with on where they are in their healing journey, based on looking at where you are ready, right? So I hope that's helpful. Those 3 shifts: dollar per hour to premium, distill your offering, heal your core wounds, okay? So again, it's like this training is it gives you this very simple framework, because to heal your core wounds, beautifully enough, everybody in this community are already doing the work, right? You are already available to the work. If somebody was really strictly business, strictly strategy, strictly, from a marketing level, strictly from the algorithm level, strictly from that, sometimes it's not as available. But the good news is you guys have that in your pocket. You're already doing the work. And we all know we don't heal alone. I can't do all what I do without my own coaches, okay? I always need to go back, continue to clear, continue to see where I'm stuck, and then just move that extra step forward and take the right implementation, the right strategy for me at that time. Because that's what happens when you get real life support. It's like, oh, you're here. Okay, so let's clear that in your physical, mental, energetic body. Now let's implement this strategy, not XYZ, because what happens is that we're implementing a strategy, it's working at an 80%, right? And then we just tweak it. That's exactly what we did with Nancy. She did 6 lives, 5 calls. The first 4 were like, didn't work, but 80% was working. On our last call, we tweaked just a little bit, right? We just tweaked what wasn't there, and she books her first high ticket client, right? And that's the simplicity of this model, and that's what I love. And right away, it injects confidence into her business and cash flow. And that's exactly what we need. And when we do that, then we can start, again, this is in the mastery program that I teach, we can start to delegate, right? So that we're not going into this place of burnout and that old model of like, okay, I'm just going to hustle. I'm just going to work dollar per hour. I'm just going to do the 20 hours and then die at the end of the week and be irritated with my family and all that stuff, right? And even, showing half there for my clients, okay?